What's up? Hey guys, got another review for you. So this one is Paranormal Activity spoofs and parodies. So it's not going to be the actual Paranormal Activity movie. It's going to be the rip-offs that I've seen and the movies that are kind of trying to recreate it, copy it, just to make a quick buck. So I've got a list of them. There's Paranormal Whacktivity. It's called Whacktivity for a fucking reason. A haunted house, paranormal movie, scary movie, and 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the devil inside, the girl with the dragon tattoo. I think. And to some extent, a bit of Paranormal Entity, because that was kind of like the first rip off kind of uh, handheld found footage shit that is sort of like a rip off. So, I'm going to talk to you about each movie, sort of like what's good about it and what's bad about it, and whether you should watch it and whether it's not worth a watch. So, first of all, Paranormal Activity is whack. It is it's a pain in the ass, and simply because in the paranormal movies they do sometimes have a joke about, oh, let's make a porno, let's leave the camera on while we go to bed and blah blah blah, and the woman's always against it. This one takes it to another level, and I don't know whether it was done on purpose, whether it was just done as a reference to the jokes and how bullshit it is and how corny. So in Paranormal Activity, the whole point is the guy's got a camera and he wants to film him and his girlfriend having sex for the first time, but she doesn't want to have sex with him because she's always feeling pleasure and she feels uncomfortable and she's being satisfied because when she's asleep, a demon's fucking her. So that's why she wakes up feeling all all satisfied and orgasmed out and shit, and like that's why she doesn't want anything because this demon's giving it to her good. So the whole movie basically, most of it is just about he's trying to get his leg over and is just trying to film this and the filming sex scenes and shit like that. And it's just sort of like it's a joke for the sake of a joke, and I felt like it's a bit too smutty, a bit too under the belt. I don't know if it was intentionally supposed to be that vulgar, or if it was just referencing the scenes in Paranormal Activity. But stay away from that one because it's don't waste your life. Waste your life on good movies. So the next one in the list is Paranormal Movie. And when you hear paranormal movie, you'd probably think it's something like epic movie or date movie or superhero movie or like Kentucky Fried movie, like those kind of movies that rip off a few things, those kind of films, or like scary movie. Paranormal movie was not good. Simply because the act, like the way it was made, it's like there was a few scenes that was sort of like funny. It was kind of taking the piss out of Paranormal Activity again with things that happened while they were sleeping that they were unaware of, and like referencing that, like taking the piss out of the cliches. But so there were times in this movie when those like the characters were just not in character. They were referencing the audience kind of thing. They're like it was one of them movies where they look at the camera and go, because it's like they know you're there and you're watching. It's like the reference like they played out to the audience too much. There's they're referenced a few times like the movie is shit and kind of thing. Like in a movie, like if you're gonna be in character. Don't go on like it's a movie, like you're filming a movie for the audience. Go on like it's supposed to be real, kind of shit. Even if you're gonna do a spoof, at least be fucking consistent, And like they kept referencing like people watching the movie. Like someone in the movie would go, "I watched the first 15 minutes of the movie. It was okay, a bit hit and miss." Like, who gives a shit? You don't be that open. People like when you address the audience because they feel involved in it, but not when the movie's shit like that. Like, there was no need for that. They could have just pretended the camera wasn't there, kind of shit. So, not the best movie to watch. Scary Movie 5. For me, from Scary Movie 2 down, all of them were kind of a flop. I do like pop culture referencing movies. Like Scary Movie, I like because it take scenes from movies you like and take the piss out of them and things like pop culture, which you like because like if you're like me and you watch the news a lot and you're kind of in the know about a lot of things, like you understand the references and then you feel good, like, oh, that's funny, they took the piss out of this, and you like it. Scary Movie 5 was just bullshit. It had Ashley Tisdale in it, for one, which that was never going to be good when she was one of the main characters. She kind of played like the mum from Mama. I know that the stepmom who was a bit of a rock chick who wasn't ready for the responsibility. But we've got Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan in it for the first few minutes, which they're quite funny. They kind of like allow themselves to have the piss taken out of, which is kind of good spots about it. But Scary Movie 5 was kind of a rip off of Paranormal Activity and Mama and a few other things, but it had moments where you're sort of like, haha, that's kind of funny. The rest was just all hit and miss. Like, you can see where the joke is, but you're not laughing. Like, I felt the same way about some things grown ups too. Like, you know that people would be laughing there, but I just couldn't bring myself to laugh because I just thought maybe I've just desensitized myself to some funny things, but I just felt like that's not funny. That's not funny. And the only reason there was a maid that was really funny, but I only laughed at the maid because she reminded me of Consuela from Family Guy. No, Mr. Superman, no harm. Reminded me of her. So I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. If Consuela was sitting on a toilet, she got dragged up by a demon. Like, sometimes they just put a joke in the movie, in a scene in the movie, for the sake of it being funny. Like, they'd put like a toilet, they'll put like a toilet in a kid's room in the closet, which makes no sense. Like, it's just for the sake of the joke, you know. And it's just some things were just like they'd put a pun somewhere just for the sake of it, and it's like it wasn't linear and didn't make much sense. It's just like it wasn't really ever a movie that made sense. It was always like it could be like a movie made up of different sketches. It could be like Pulp Fiction, where it's just a scene, and it doesn't have to make any sense because it could all be separate. Next one is 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the devil inside, the girl with the dragon tattoo. Now this one, as I like to call it, it's more like, it's not 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the devil inside, the girl with the dragon tattoo. It's like 80 minutes of hell. There are a few moments in it where you are genuinely laughing, like, ha ha ha, oh my god. Like, once again, there's parts of the movie where you're like, are they taking a piss out of Paranormal Activity with something? Are they making a reference to this joke and just outright saying how bullshit they think this part of the movie is? Like, I might say, like, what the house is haunted and the parents in Paranormal Activity would leave the kid alone or something like that while things happen to him. And there's moments where the parents are being genuinely bad, like really being really stupid and overprotective. Like, put a fucking roller coaster support bar over the kid when he's in the car, and then the daughter will come in carrying the baby, and then she'll just like drop him or something, you know, and things like that. So it's just referencing just maybe bad parenting and Paranormal Activity or something. And then they make some references, like this girl's like, I was just about to post my nude pics on Twitter, and like that's not something like, yeah, you can understand why that'd be funny, but it's not like just because you put some pop culture reference in, like Twitter, doesn't mean everyone's gonna be like clapping and barking like a seal, you know, like, oh, you just said Facebook, wow. I got Abe Lincoln in it, you know, because I was taking a piss out of Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, which I thought, he was kind of funny. Like, can I join you for a brief libation? Like, this girl just wants to bone Abraham Lincoln, and then he sees this old woman. He's like, gotta go get the stink eye from a sweet slut. Like, he's kind of funny. For me, the first couple of minutes were funny, but it was not the woman. It wasn't the whole thing. It's just one character in general. Like, the dad of the main character, the lead female, was just kind of hilarious. It was supposed to be like the mother from The Devil Inside is just fucking mentally insane, and he's like running around naked, kind of thing, and it's like he's fucking gnomes, like, hello, like fucking a gnome, and then like getting chased by the police, like, let's have a five-way or some stupid shit, because like Insanity makes me laugh a bit. So he's like the funniest thing, and he has like a scene with his daughter, and he's just like incredibly funny, where he's like, connect the dots, and then he connects all the dots, and then he scans it, and it's a barcode, like a QR code for 2-for-1 hookers on Groupon, which is kind of fun. And then he's got like his daughter's socks written across his lip or something like that, like Dana socks, and he's like, nah, get out of here, I ain't got time for you no more, like, I'm a pretty princess, kind of like. So he was like the funniest part of the movie, but it's not worth watching, it's not worth the references. If you watch wrestling, Christopher Daniels in it briefly, he like does a parody of Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, which is kind of funny. Yeah, if you're a wrestling fan, you always watch something when it's got a wrestler in it, so that's quite good. It's got a few moments where it's kind of funny, but it's mostly just sort of like go over the top of your head. It's kind of funny, you know. They'll throw in a part with lesbians in it and boobs just so to keep your attention, because they know the movie's kind of shit. You know, what makes them think we constantly need to be flashed in the face with eye candy to maintain concentration. We're not children. It's not like to keep them interested, you need to put something colourful and, you know, animatronic in there or something like that. Like we can perfectly capable of watching a movie for an hour and a half without our attention being drawn in. It's 8 minutes long, which is, you know, quite short for a movie. So it's kind of insulting that they have to keep flashing us with eye candy like we need it to concentrate. The movie's shit, you know. So we have Paranormal Entity, which was kind of like a rip-off of Paranormal Activity. You can't ever say anything's a budget version of Paranormal Activity because that's quite budget anyway. Paranormal Entity is the same kind of premise of a guy's got a camera, paranormal activity is happening in the house, he's filming it, someone's gonna die, someone's gonna get hurt, someone's getting possessed, blah 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 blah. Which I just thought it was a bit naff. It was okay, but it was, you know, it was the same kind of bullshit trying to jump scare you, kind of shit you find in Paranormal Activity. If someone had never seen Paranormal Activity and heard things about the fan footage, camera action and shit, they probably watch Paranormal Entity and think it's that. We have left a haunted house, which sounds legitimately like a haunting movie, a horror movie, a movie about ghosts. A haunted house sounds like, you know, like House on the Haunted Hill, the house at the end of the street, last house on the left. Like, it sounds like a horror kind of name. This one has been slated to hell by people. There's people are saying this is the worst movie ever, how can you watch it? It's racist, insensitive, and blah blah blah. I love this fucking film. This is the first film in a long time where I watched it and pissed myself. But it's not because it's really funny, it's because it's the stupidity in it. It's the same kind of stupidity you see in a scary movie. It's got like Marlon Wayans in, so it's always going to be like physical kind of humor, sometimes a bit like, whoa, you know. And for the most part, yes, there are moments in there where there's some racist references or stereotyping, but you wouldn't expect him to be like, oh yes, I'm John from Market Finances and blah 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 blah. You wouldn't expect him to be like that. You know, you'd expect him to be a bit ghetto, but, you know, streetwise enough to act insane when some unexplainable shit happens. You know, you'd expect him to be OTT. It's a realistic representation of how a person would be. You know, I'm not saying, you know, it's politically correct, some of the things he says, some of the way he acts, it's not a bit racially insensitive, but for some of the jokes, it is kind of necessary. For some other ones, it's not necessary, but the jokes that it does, they're not hit and miss, they're good jokes. Yeah, some things are in there just make you laugh, some things just make you giggle a little bit, and some things you're just like, what the fuck are they talking about? Kind of shit. I think this is the closest one to a parody of Paranormal Activity. It's kind of like how The Wiz was to The Wizard of Oz. Like, it's not as good as, never going to be as good as, but you kind of enjoy it for what it is. The Haunted House is kind of like that. It's not horror, obviously. It's a parody. It's a spoof movie, but this is the one I can sit and watch, and I could watch it and get all the way through and not be pissed off. You know, it's got some famous people in it, and I can never pronounce his name. I think it's David Kitchener. Kitchener, you know, there's a guy who's in everything. He's in like Final Destination, and if you see him, you'll know exactly what I mean because he's in like everything now. Cedric the Entertainer's in it. They take the piss out of Paranormal Activity and a couple of other things, but it's good. It's kind of like, some of it's distasteful, some of it's not. It's really funny. It's a pretty good rip-off. So I think if you had to choose to pick a spoof movie out of all of them, I think I'd narrow it down to 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity. You might be able to get through that and have a couple of laughs. It's because it references more than just Paranormal Activity. It's on all a couple of things. Haunted House. Haunted House is probably the top of the list for me. Obviously, everyone likes different things, but for me, that's the top of the heap. Comment, rate, subscribe. See you later, you bastards.